Get started. Hello, everybody out there, and hello, YouTube. This is Kenoshi Abominito here with another episode of Project Console with the Dragon. But before we get into our topics, like my panelist member to introduce himself.
Yo, it's me, Mr. Red Fox, owner proprietor BS Busters. Glad to be on another cast.
Glad to have you. So last Thursday we were presented with some tragic news. The creator of Dragon Ball, Doctor is Doctor Slump?
Akira Toriyama.
Yeah, Akira Toriyama passed. The news was broke on Thursday. It was either Thursday or Friday, and it shook the internet.
Yeah.
Dragon Ball Z is what actually in Japan it's just called Dragon Ball.
Yeah, it was a continuation, like Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Z, like it's all just Dragon Ball in Japan.
Yeah.
Here they delineated the series into different they split it into different series. So you have like Dragon Ball Z, which is when Goku's an adult, Dragon Ball GT, which was its own thing, and Dragon Ball Super, which is the continuing adventures of the original cast, plus some new characters who, to be frank, most people don't give a shit about.
Yeah, but in any case, there's that's the biggest franchise, at least younger millennials, I would say. Younger millennials, Gen Z.
If you're 30 and over and a young man or young lady, you grew up with Toonami and one of the big three on Toonami for that after school group. It was Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, and Gundam. Like those three would come on, and then there was other stuff too. Like eventually they added stuff like the Big O, Cowboy Bebop, Outlaw Star, stuff like that. But it started with those three, and they would switch out Gundam for other stuff. Like when they ran out of Gundam shit, they'd be they'd have stuff like they'd show some original Dragon Ball Bleach. Stuff like that.
Yeah. It's for me. It was my introduction to anime. I remember when I first saw it. I was like, man, because I wasn't used to Eastern, or Japanese animation. So it's just kind of it was actually jarring at first when I first saw it. I think it was like Sailor Moon and like Dragon Ball Z. That's some weird looking stuff. And then after a while, I just got hooked because with Dragon Ball Z, there's this continuing storyline. You couldn't wait until either like the next day or the next week, because sometimes they would show. I think there was a point in time where you would only get one new episode a week, or they got to the point where you got a new episode every day, continuing the story.
Yeah, it was based on when Funimation could do the localization for it. So sometimes it would be like they would show the same 3 or 4 episodes for the whole week, and then you get that one new episode. And man, this is when, look, man, we were kids, and this is before streaming. We didn't care about the fucking the filler and the repeat episodes. We're like, man, we get to see that awesome fight again and again and again. I mean, it seemed like it took 5 months for that fight between Goku and Frieza. When Goku finally went Super Saiyan, we're like, oh shit! like even now, if you go back and watch that where Frieza kills Krillin and Goku goes Super Saiyan, it sounds like he's taking a really bad shit. It's like, you won't get away with this. You won't. I'm like you know, at the time we were like, oh shit. But as an older person now, I'm like, you were more upset about your friend who you grew up with got killed. But like, these people, you came to this planet and your son had gotten the shit kicked out of him by people who were way more powerful than he was, and you didn't say shit. Like, I'd be more upset about someone beating the shit out of my son than my friend who's a grown ass man and decided to do this. You know, it's like, you know, no one forced you to come here. You know, it's like, it's just kind of, you know, like, okay, man, all right, whatever. You know, it's like, but anyway, yeah. The moment when you won't get away with this, it's like, oh shit. And then he went super. Although the whole fight leading up to Goku going Super Saiyan, where like Vegeta dies and Goku's angry that Vegeta died. I'm like, Vegeta's a piece of shit. Why would you be angry about him dying? Even back then, like I've never been one of those, oh man, Vegeta's badass. I'm like, Vegeta has a badass Super Saiyan theme song. Aside from that, he's a piece of shit. But yeah, man, it was amazing. And you know, like Akira Toriyama isn't the first person who had a manga that was localized and brought to America, but he's the one who made it big. Yeah. Like Dragon Ball, especially Dragon Ball Z, like they were going to cancel Toonami. Toonami was going to get canceled, and then they hit upon Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, and I think it was either Cowboy Bebop or Gundam. Like they would mix the two, Cowboy Bebop and Gundam. But most of the time it was like the OG, like Gen 1 Gundam with Amaru Ray and Char and all that shit. And you know, like here's how much of a addict we were for Dragon Ball Z back in the day. We would sit down and go through Sailor Moon if we got home early enough. We would watch that shit to get to Dragon Ball Z. And actually, here's the thing, low key, even though we're masculine men, we actually got into Sailor Moon too. Yeah. It's like, Sabrina, you ain't shit. Why are you the leader of this team? You're trash. Get Sailor Mars or Sailor Jupiter or Sailor Venus. You're trash. Sarita, you're trash. Anyone else could be a better leader. and we it was, yeah, and then later on they added Inuyasha. They got rid of Sailor Moon and added Inuyasha, which is basically Inuyasha is like a better version of Sailor Moon.
Yeah, one of the things, this is a side tangent, but you know, I heard so much criticism of that of Inuyasha, and one of the things that really bothered me with the criticism of it, I wasn't like a huge fan of that show. I didn't hate it, but I didn't absolutely love it either. But one of the things that people said is like, you know, it's so ridiculous that you know, this girl wearing a Japanese schoolgirl outfit, you know, and everybody just and people accepts it, but it's kind of like you have demon monsters, you have a little boy that also has a foxtail. Like, there's a lot of weird
there's weird shit all over the place.
Yeah. So it's kind of like,
that makes no sense. Yeah,
whatever.
Yeah, I mean, believe it or not, Kagome, despite her modern clothes for the time, she actually was the most normal-looking person there. You got Inuyasha, motherfucker's got a tail and this long-ass hair. No, Inuyasha didn't have a tail. He had that long-ass hair and dog ears. He's got this giant fucking sword. You got his fucking his father's right-hand man, that flea dude, who's a perv. You got Shippo, who's a little fox kid. You got Naraku's a fucking perv with a black hole in his hand. I mean, shit, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I I mean, goddamn it! Look, if you look, you can either sit down and enjoy the damn show, or are we going to nitpick this shit all day? What do you want to do? Now, shut up and
like early YouTube, at least the places I gravitated to, is like they were so nitpicky with their reviews of particular different animes. It's like, there's stuff to complain about here, but god dang,
you can nitpick everything. I mean, there are legit arguments you could make against Inuyasha. The ending was rushed. Like, Kagome was abusive as fuck to Inuyasha. It made no sense that they would fall in love when she spent like a good 2/3 of that series just abusing the ever-loving shit out of Inuyasha. I'm like, I don't know how that relationship's gonna work. What?
That was like a popular thing in anime, like in the aughts, where you just had these women just abusing these boys. Like,
well, that's the author of the manga that's based on Rumiko Takahashi. That's her big thing. Like, and Rumiko Takahashi, her big thing is she has a power dynamic in her relationships in her series where the female beats the shit out of the male, or the male accidentally beats the female, and she's now his girlfriend. Like, the series that put her over was Lum, or Uretse no Yatsura. And it's about this alien princess who looks like an ogre from Japanese mythology. So she's hot with like a tiger bikini, but with like a horn. And this kid accidentally beats her. Like, he knocks her out by accident. And she's like, "Well, since you beat me, you're now my future husband." He's like, "I don't really want to go that way." But she's like, "No, you're gonna be my boyfriend." Her other popular show that will never be localized in America because it has frontal teenage girl nudity is Ranma Half, where like basically Ranma Saotome is he and his father are martial artists who went to China to train, but they're Japanese and they don't speak Chinese. So they went to this training ground called the Land of 1,000 Accursed Springs, where there's all these springs where like each spring somebody died drowned tragically, and so if you fall in that spring you turn into that creature. Well, his father fell in a spring that panda drowned in, so he turns into a panda when he gets splashed with cold water, whereas Ranma gets when he fell into a spring that has a young virgin girl got drowned in, so when he gets splashed with cold water he turns into a girl. Yeah. They'll never localize that because I have the whole manga series, and they had it in Japan, but they kind of sort of went around it. But it's still heavily implied. Like, you will never have that series ever. You will never have that series localized in America because it has 15, 14-year-old girls, which the age of consent in Japan is 12. You will never have that series localized in America. But the character development they have with Ranma and Akane in Ranma Half, who is like the love interest in that show, and that manga, is more believable than Inuyasha and Kagome. Because, like, basically, Akane's like, the source of their beef is that she loses to Ranma when he's in female form. And she's like, "Well, as long as I lost to a girl, I don't want to lose to a boy, because then, that would hurt my ego." And he goes to take a bath. She's like, "Oh, you can take a bath first." And he's like, "Okay." But it's hot water, so he turns into a dude. And she comes in there, and she sees it's a dude. And she's like, "Oh, shit." And she tries to kill him. So from there, it's like they have this contentious will they, won't they, like, kind of relationship. So, point is, Ranma Half is a good show. Rumiko Takahashi's a good author. She kind of fell off after Inuyasha.
Yeah.
And they did like an Inuyasha second generation or something where he's got like a daughter with Kagome, and I'm like, I didn't want this relationship to work because they don't belong together because Kagome's a bitch.
Yeah, but in any case, side tangent aside.
Yeah. Let's get back on the main street.
Akira Toriyama.
Yep.
Mostly known for Dragon Ball, obviously. He did other stuff that you're probably more familiar with.
Yeah.
Is there any? Would you like to talk about that stuff?
Sure. Akira Toriyama did other stuff. Primarily, he did actual prominence wasn't Dragon Ball. It was a series about this guy named Dr. Slump, who Dr. Slump was based off of Akira Toriyama. And Dr. Slump basically is he's this middle-aged guy who is kind of like a slob, but also a technical genius. And he builds a robot named Arale, but he kind of fucks up, so her eyes aren't straight, so he has to get her glasses because you can't see. And she's a precocious little girl robot. She's like, well, how come I don't have any like sexual organs or anything? He's like, oh, don't ask questions about that. And if anyone asks, you're my daughter. So initially, he uses her as as bait so that he can get a girlfriend. Like, I'm a single father raising my daughter, but her head keeps on falling off and shit. Like it's a comedic. It's a comedic series. And over time, like if you watch Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, he'll have crossovers with his other characters. So if you ever watch a Dragon Ball episode and you see Aral, you're like, who the fuck is that? That's his original character who, the first anime manga he ever did. After that, he did some other stuff. He did Sandland, but the thing, which was basically his take on Journey to the West. That's functionally just what it is. It's essentially Journey to the West.
Yeah, would you call it a parody of Journey to the West, or not quite?
I mean, it's not. I mean, okay, it's his take on Journey to the West, but Toriyama's always been about comedy. Yeah, like everything he writes, it's always got absurdist type comedy. I mean, let's not forget in the first volume of Dragon Ball. Okay, the first volume of Dragon Ball. Goku is horrified because basically when he was a little kid, he would sleep naked with his grandfather, and he pulls her panties down, and he's horrified that she doesn't have balls. He's absolutely horrified. He's like, oh my god, she doesn't have balls. Okay, and Yamcha, who at this point they're not friends. He's the Wolf Fang Bandit. He sneaks up and looks in the trailer that they're sleeping in, and Bulma sits up and doesn't realize her panties have been pulled down, and like Yamcha, just his nose, he passes the fuck out because he sees everything. Now you don't see all this, but it's like the implication is there. Toriyama has always been about absurdist, crude, absurd, or just absolutely out of place humor with his stuff. And the fights are legit good too. I would say in terms of writing, Dragon Ball is better written than Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball, the power creep, the character development is better because Goku isn't all powerful in Dragon Ball. He has to become more powerful. Don't forget, the first two world strongest tournaments that Goku fights in, he loses. The first one he loses at Jackie Chun, who's really Master Roshi, and the second one he loses against Tien Shinhan.
The thing about
it's only by the third one that he actually wins.
Yeah, the thing about Dragon Ball and what I've seen of it, because I haven't watched the series all the way through. I saw a little bit. I saw bits of it when it was on Toonami.
Yeah.
It later aired on Toonami, like essentially after Dragon Ball Z had finished.
Yeah, they showed the whole thing on Toonami.
Yeah, and it had better fight choreography.
Because sorry, go ahead.
I felt like a lot of the animations in Dragon Ball Z with the really quick fights, it felt like a lot of those animations were recycled.
Quick cuts. Yeah, it's just quick cuts, quick cut here, quick cut there. The thing is that because everyone was lower powered in Dragon Ball, they actually had to animate the fight. It wasn't just he teleported over here. He's moving so quickly I can't see anything. when you finally get people fighting at that power level in Dragon Ball, it means something because they have to still show. Like the first time you see someone fighting, like kicking someone and moving so quickly that they run past them to combo their ass in multiple directions is King Piccolo, the OG King Piccolo, Daimao Piccolo, versus Goku. When Goku was talking all that shit, you hurt my friends and I'm going to fight you because I'm the shonen protagonist. And he's like, oh, well, I just wished for my youth back and killed Shinron, so I'm going to show you that you're fighting on this is a whole new different level. The game has changed. And he beats the brakes off of Goku. And it's amazing. It's the first time you see Dragon Ball Z style fights in Dragon Ball.
Yeah.
You know. And that's how, you know, like, but still, like, Dragon Ball, the fight choreography was better. You still had humor, but the fight choreography was better. And most importantly, Goku wasn't OP as fuck. He lost a lot.
Yeah.
Like, he lost a lot of fights. Like, the first time he fought Yajirobe, he lost. Yeah, there was a point where Yajirobe was more powerful than Goku. The first time he fought Yamcha, he lost. When he fought Tien Shinhan, he lost. Like, Goku lost a lot when he was a kid.
Yeah.
And that made him a more interesting character because he had to overcome shit in order to become more powerful. And that made him into a more interesting character. But, you know.
Yeah, and, you know, I mean, any of us, a lot of us, you know, Akira Toriyama was a big part of our childhood.
Yeah.
And,
It's like... No, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, he died at 68, which isn't young.
It's not old. Yeah, that's not really old, though.
Yeah.
You know, 68 now is like, in America, 68 is like, if you haven't retired, you're looking hard at it, and you're looking at the next phase, the third phase of your life.
Yeah.
Because you got another 25, 30 years, you know? Like, 68 is like, you're not young, but there's still some life left to live.
Yeah. And, you know, if you take care of yourself health-wise, you know, I mean, granted, you know, he died under circumstances that were probably out of his control, or that was more than likely out of his control.
Well, apparently he had like a brain tumor that was operated on, and I guess it didn't heal properly, and that's what caused the subdural hematoma. Like he was in the hospital early this year or last year or something like that, and that's what basically apparently caused his thing. Apparently, he must have known he was sick because he told the voice actress who does the voice for Goku to please take care of Goku for him. So, yeah, I'm like, God damn, that's it hits in the feels.
Yeah, sometimes you know, you have that sixth sense where, you know, if you're sick, where it's, you know, you don't have long, you know, if you ever talked to somebody or ever knew somebody that was sick or dying, but yeah, that's so it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Right, okay,
But yeah, man, he died.
Yeah.
He died. It's sad because the man created our. It's like the day John Williams dies. It's like this man created the soundtrack for so much of our childhood.
Dragon Ball GT is still shit, and Dragon Ball Super kind of sucks. So.
Okay. Here's what I'm gonna say about GT. The premise behind GT is shit.
Yeah.
No no
No what?
no doubt about it. It's Dragon Ball GT is shit. Or at least I should say the premise behind Dragon Ball GT is shit. Dragon Ball GT itself, like I still say this. They've got Super Saiyan Blue and Super Saiyan and all that shit and Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego and all that shit. I'm gonna be honest with you. All those forms don't look nearly as badass as Super Saiyan 4. GT, look, say whatever you want to about GT. The story was kind of trash, and how they ended it, how they basically wound up essentially doing a shittier version of Dragon Ball instead of it being Gohan and Trunks. But Super Saiyan 4, still one of the most badass Super Saiyan forms I've ever seen.
Yeah.
In terms of power level. I mean, it was badass as fuck. I'm like, God damn.
I still like that design. It was such a unique design versus all the other designs that are out now. But yeah, there were elements of Dragon Ball GT I liked, but they were just poorly executed, poorly implemented, and
well,
there isn't.
No, go ahead.
Really
Sorry.
There isn't like the Black Star Dragon Balls being essentially cursed for the greed of the wishes. That was interesting, but there's no foreshadow in Dragon Ball Z to justify